Hey everyone, I'm Evan and welcome to another episode of the ProfNoctis Show. This week we have the incredible artist Tylor Hepner. Tell everyone what we can expect. Wade.
Well, Tyler's our first artist on the show, and so we're going to be deep diving into the process of creation a little bit and picking his brain about what he thinks goes into the creation of a remake like Final Fantasy VII. And so it's going to be a fascinating conversation, especially for you content creators and aspiring artists. This one is for you. So without further ado, let's
Let's
mosey.
mosey.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the ProfNoctis Show. Today, Evan and I are joined by the brilliant artist, Tylor Hepner, and we are so excited. Tylor, how you doing?
Guys, I'm doing absolutely phenomenal. It feels so great to finally see you guys here.
Thank you for joining us.
Seriously, we reached out to you. I knew that I wanted you to be one of the people that guested on the show immediately. I was like, this is a voice in the art community and can provide a lens for things that I haven't seen in Rebirth, and I don't think a lot of content creators have really seen. So I am just delighted. I've been looking forward to this day, dude. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be a part with this with so many other great people. And I've connected with all of y'all. It feels so good, and finally get to talk to you both. It feels like I've talked to y'all forever, but this is the first time.
To that point, I mean, and for all of our audience, everybody listening, if you don't know Tylor, you need to do a quick Google search. He's on Instagram. He is on, I think Instagram's where I first found you. He's certainly on Twitter, X, social media, all that stuff on Etsy. But this guy does art that just captures the spirit of the games that you love. And you need to go look through all that stuff. But even more than that, I would be surprised if there are any of our listeners that haven't heard of you, because Tylor, you have been everywhere lately. Like all of these new opportunities.
They've seen it if they haven't heard of it. You may not know that it was his work, but you have definitely seen it if you are on the internet at all.
You've just blown up over the last year, or 6 months even. It's just absolutely amazing. What a journey for you. I know that you must be riding high.
Oh yeah, this last year since Rebirth, leading up to it, has been the best because I got to connect with so many people through Final Fantasy and being hyped for it. You know, being excited and being able to connect with everyone through that is the best feeling. Especially just watching all these YouTubers, all these people, and you feel a connection with them, but then you finally meet them and you become friends. It's really fun. I love it.
Well, that's something that's really interesting about the art world and different people's journey through improving their art, going to school for it, maybe different things like that, is the community that they kind of develop along the way, like the artists that they meet in their class. And then you start to build these relationships. I think a lot of us think of artists as these like French impressionists that are tucked away and they hide and they go crazy and they chop off their ear and everybody's a Van Gogh. And then you meet people, you're like, no, it's actually it's a very communal, very connected environment. Not everybody is this recluse who just hides away and does art. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what first interested you in art, because you're a professional artist now. So at some point you had to start that journey. Has that just been inherent? You picked up a colored pencil at the age of 2 and then you just kind of went from there. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so my art journey has been my whole life. It's been my whole life, since I was very little, because my parents are artists. My dad is very technical. His dream was to become an architect. So he'd do these really cool architectural drawings. And my mom is a jack of all trades. She's a master at crafting, sewing, guitar. She's like the art queen. And my biggest inspiration, I'd say she's my biggest inspiration when it comes to art. So they cultivated and helped me pursue it. And I went all in my whole life. Um, I didn't get serious until high school, though.
Okay.
And high school was when I officially started pursuing it.
What did that look like? That decision to say, this is something that I have been doing for fun, and maybe I'm growing up a little bit, I'm getting a little bit older, I'm starting to have to pick some extracurriculars and a career path.
Yep.
And that's pretty early to decide to commit to something. Not everyone has
Mhm.
something that kind of bubbles to the surface that they want to commit to at that age, especially in our American society. So what was that decision like? It seems like you've stuck with it and it's worked out okay, but was it
Mhm.
something you're like, oh, this is definitely going to work out, no problem, I'll just work really hard? Were there some trepidation in there, a little bit of
It
fear?
There was a lot of fear, and there was a lot of stagnation, and I was stuck, and I had gone through a period of um, 2 years in high school, 10th and 11th, severe acne. Um,
Mm.
Severe, like out of a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 15. Um, and it brought me, it brought me really low. It made me really down and negative. And what happened that changed all of that, I'm a strong Christian, and as I was praying and trying to get through this healing process, something clicked, and I started being positive. I said, I'm going to be positive, no more negativity from me. And the act of being positive, like, allows your body to sing in a way.
Hmm.
Um, and I started praising God in this positive energy and healing, and being focused on Bible verses. I don't know, just something clicked where I went all in, and He healed me, and I wanted to honor Him in the healing. So I did my senior in 12th grade. I was healed. So I did my senior thesis art portfolio to get into college based off healing and receiving God's healing. So the focus was light. Alongside that, I had only done grayscale. I was doing pencil drawings.
Oh.
Hmm.
And pencil drawings, I was so timid. I was timid and afraid.
Mhm.
And it took me 6 months to finish one drawing. And my art teacher, she loved me. She let me get away with it. But she's like, come on now, you can't keep doing this. And all that was in line. That breakthrough of, I'm going to honor God in this. I'm going to get rid of the gray and the pencil drawings. I'm going to go full in on color, messy pastels, out of my comfort zone, and go full color. And I went full force with it, and did a full series of the process of my healing. And light was a big focus on that. So that kind of started the way I draw in pastels, and how I capture light and be extra dramatic and exaggerate and all that kind of stuff. So that's the source of my art aesthetic, I guess. And one other thing is Drew Struzan is my biggest inspiration. Drew Struzan is the movie poster artist from the 80s and 90s. He drew Indiana Jones movie posters. He drew Back to the
Oh,
Future.
cool. I'm going to look
Like
him up.
He drew-
the drawings, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
I
y'all
know
have seen him.
Yeah, I've seen
yeah.
them. I didn't know the name of the person.
Yeah,
but-
Drew Struzan. He's my ultimate inspiration, and he had a video, a Hellboy video, and it showed him drawing the poster for Hellboy. Blew me away. So all
I've
these
seen
things
that.
lined up. Yes, you have?
Yeah.
That was the ignition to the drive for me to pursue. And all those things that I said before, including that video, God gave it to me, ignited it. And it's just been like, I've been like gung-ho since then.
So much of what you just said, like there's so many layers to it. In my classes, religious studies and in religious life at the University of Alabama, we always talk about the ways that we make meaning in the world around us, and how we channel that process of making meaning into something productive. And I love the way that you were able to integrate personal experience, belief system, and hope, all into kind of shining through in your art. And now that you mention it, I don't know if I would have been able to really put my finger on it, but when I look at your art, I'm able to see these placements of light and light sources, and just this ability to create a luminous sort of
Mhm.
impression on the page. It is really remarkable. And so to hear like there was a place and time of darkness in your life, and now you're able to convey light through your art. That's really, really powerful. That's a great origin story there. When you mention, you mentioned a couple of times that through this process and faith and art, you were commemorating in some ways a personal healing and sort of thing.
Mhm.
Can you? I wonder if you could explain a little bit what that means, because you mentioned that you were talking about acne and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
there were also other layers going on as well. When you speak of healing, just briefly, what exactly are you referring to there?
Well, there's a healing in not just the physical. Um, my face was wounded and scarred from so much. I don't even know what happened, but
As a guy that struggled with acne from
Mhm.
7th grade through 10th grade, like I vividly recall that looking in the
Yes.
mirror and just being like, "Oh my gosh, what is this? Isn't who
Yeah.
I am," right? So,
Yeah. I think what happened, briefly, I'll say, I went to the dermatologist for a little bit of acne, and they
mm,
gave me the pill and they gave me the topical, and I think I had a reaction to it,
Oh
and
no.
I think
oh
that
yeah.
severely damaged me bad, um, more so than having regularly bad acne. Um, anyways, it really made me a negative person. I was not fun to be around. Um, and I noticed it with my family having a good time. And I'm always talking about this.
Mm,
I don't want to bring people down. I want to uplift people. I want to be a light. And I know God used it. I'm thankful for it. I know God used it to help me in my art journey. I'm thankful
mm,
for it. I wouldn't be, I don't think we'd be here without our bad days. The good days, it helps tell your story. And God gave me a story and me being stuck too. I was stuck in my art. Um, and then it was a healing of my spirit and how I thought, and
mm.
God helped me become who I am now. I'm very positive person, um, very optimistic, like Zach in a way, like um,
I can see
super
it. Yeah.
optimistic. It was my first Final Fantasy VII introduction was Crisis Core, so I'm connected to Zach.
Hang on,
Oh.
time
Well,
out. Your first introduction to Final Fantasy VII was Crisis Core?
yes,
So you're
yes,
playing in the chronological, like the actual timeline of the game. That's
That's
yep,
amazing.
funny.
yep. So yeah, this positivity really pulled through, and I like was kind of flooded with it all
Yeah.
at one time,
Huh.
and I've just been like on a full sprint ever since.
I love that. Well, we talk a lot about how our physical bodies and our spirit and our emotional selves, our mind, they're all connected. And stuff like acne and things that are external
Mhm.
cut deep at times. They
Yeah,
goes it goes to our confidence, which then leaks into our identity, which then makes
yeah,
us question our own strength and resolve. And
hmm,
it's a really challenging journey that I know a significant amount of people have really gone through, and it's
yeah,
something that's really unfortunately common for
hmm,
those who are growing up. You talk about how your art journey kind of mirrored your personal journey. That when
Mm,
you felt that light more emotionally and in your
hmm,
spirit, you felt it start to express itself more in the way that you created your art. Could you talk a
hmm,
little bit about, as an artist, that connection where you feel what's happening in your own spirit and then it manifests itself externally in a visual way with art? A lot of the time my spirit just manifests itself in its mood and I'm like grouchy, but I don't draw something, right? So you're
yeah,
drawing either way, right? You're drawing
yeah,
something that is representative of somewhat of how you feel, and that's kind of part of that expression. Talk to us a
hmm,
little bit about what that's like to be able to
hmm.
express yourself visually that way and what that has meant to you.
Oh man, the most impactful time was right as I was being healed. I had extreme gratitude, and I wanted to honor that feeling of extreme emotion of relief,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to share this. I want to reflect what I've been given in some way, and it was an overflow
Mm-hmm.
of a blessing. I don't know, but the series itself kind of explains the process of receiving God's healing, and there's a lot of red involved and a lot of light involved, and it was very hard for me because it was opposite of stagnant. I was barely drawing anything. It took me 6 months to draw some grass. I mean, it's like complete contrast, but the extreme emotions of relief and feeling, finally overcoming something with his help, kind of gave me the strength to, I don't know, to have a goal. Had a goal
Oh yeah.
to pursue, and I wasn't like lost. I was like, he like found me. I had a something to run to,
Yeah.
and I went for it, and it feels really good. I mean, it feels really nice to get
that's great.
how you feel out, and that boost really helped my confidence. And that series got top 5% in the country for portfolio reviews
Wow.
at the time. When for high schoolers sending it off, you send it off to a board, and it was
Yeah.
a top 5%. I was really proud of it. It was really good.
What is it like as you've grown to be able to express yourself visually? Because you're obviously you're not in high school anymore. You've done college. You're into your career, but you're still using visual art to be able to express how you feel. But sometimes you're drawing, a subject. You're drawing a Marvel character, or you're drawing a Final Fantasy character. How does that element of personal expression find its way into like a portrait of a character, for example? And what have you learned kind of over the years as you've developed?
So with pastels, it's about capturing. Well, I would focus on photorealism, and it's all about getting.
Let's time out. So we're going to need to probably define some terms and everything here. Okay, so you're primarily a pastel artist at first, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so tell us what pastels are and what makes them special compared to other mediums. That way, we're all kind of we'll go step by step along the way. That way, everyone's
vocabulary terms for our students.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Okay, so pastels.
Pastel. I wanted to be a pastel artist. It's as a chalk-based, really messy medium that me being very neat and orderly. I wanted to do that. Use this medium to help me out of my comfort zone. I want to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I'm trying to be uncomfortable as much as possible because I'm such a I don't like change. I don't like this kind of thing. I don't like being uncomfortable, but I force myself to do it. So it's a very messy medium, and I use it for photorealism over the years, and I wanted to capture the likeness of a person I want to capture the spirit of a person as accurately as possible. That was my ultimate goal, is to be like the best portrait artist. With pastels, which is not normally used because it's a messy medium.
Yeah, time out. So you're using like a chalk derivative to make something look photoreal.
Yeah, yes.
How is that possible?
Well, it's all God, but the process...
That's true. We're throwing up for the big man.
Yeah. I figured out the process... Man, it's hard to explain. But it's become intuitive to me.
Yeah.
To the point where I just trust the process. It's all about layering colors perfectly. It's a process.
That's good. I want to know more about it. We want to know more about it. So, okay, you have the pastel in your hand. You have the medium that you're going to put. We call it chalk to paper. They're oily, right? They're a little oily.
There's oil pastels, and I use a dry pastel.
Okay, so there's two different. So now I'm being educated even further. So you see something with your eyes, and then you see it kind of in your mind how you can shape the pastels to create that on the page. So you start with a sketch or an outline. You have kind of colors in mind? Do you know where you're headed from the very beginning, or do you kind of have to adapt as you go? Maybe something doesn't look the same way on the page as you saw it in your mind. Talk about that process while you're
Well, this is what I'll get into. When it comes to the traditional and capturing realism, you have a reference, and you trust the reference, and you draw what you see. And I'm good at drawing what you see, and my motto is draw what you see, not what you know. You draw the shapes, and you don't draw what you're seeing. If it's an apple, you're not drawing an apple. You're drawing shapes on this in the space, and you think about it three-dimensionally like that as you're drawing. That's why you can draw things upside down easier and capture it more real, because your brain doesn't process it as what it is.
Timeout. Okay, the phrase was
there's so many timeouts.
Timeout. Like this is when you talk to somebody who's just really good at something and they've been doing it for so long, and you're like, so how do you do it? And you're like, well, I don't know, just spend 50,000 hours on it, then do it. It's like, drawing is different. So say you're
try it upside down.
Yeah, your brain flips it anyway. So technically, if you search in your soul deep enough, everything's upside down anyways, and your brain turns it around. Like, yes, I understand that as like words, but Wade, I know that you want to hear that phrase again. What?
You said
You're blowing my mind. I could try and draw right now, and there's nothing. Like, it's just gonna be like beep, 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 beep.
Well, listen, Evan, if it makes you feel better, I took 6 years of art, right? And I'm still like, this is how I know that he has a gift for this, and I was trying to get a gift for this. Right? Like I can draw a little bit, but like this is an actual artist here, and so you're using phrasing and terminology. It's like, oh, you just do it.
Yeah. So draw what you. Okay, say that phrase again. Something about
draw what you see.
Draw what you see. Draw what you know. Let you say it. You say it.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah. The motto I go by is draw what you see and not what you know. Draw the shapes within that space and not the subject. Don't let your mind focus on the subject of what you're drawing. I'm not drawing a face. I'm drawing patterns and shapes, and that helps me with the realism.
Draw what you see, not what you know.
Okay,
Yes.
Tyler,
did you come up with that? Is that like a quote?
Yeah.
No, it's my art teacher.
Well, your art
drilled
teacher
that
is
into me.
brilliant.
Okay,
She's awesome.
Draw what
attribute
you
it to you.
see, not what you know. That goes so much to it. That's really breaking my brain, because it goes so much to assumption too. Like when you're trying to create realism for a subject and you're getting to know someone, there's this idea of like listening and like when I'm perceiving someone in my mind or I'm having a conversation, like draw what I see. Like take in what is actually there. Don't just take in what I know and try and connect to like other assumptions. That is.
Well, and to this point, and we will return to that phrase. I have made a note.
Did you write it down? I'm writing it down.
I've written it down, and it's like engraved on my heart now, because this has so many implications for the ways that we would perceive media as well. And so your ability to be able to process and notice things from what you are seeing versus layering what you already know, some preconceived notion of this thing.
Gosh.
I think in many ways it allows you to excavate something for what it actually is rather than what you want it to be or what you would prefer it to be. And that has huge ramifications for when we talk about Rebirth in a little bit.
Yes.
So a little teaser for our friends listening today as we get into that a little bit later. I'm curious, so you started out a pastel artist. You've moved into more sketching and stuff with colored pencil. Is that what you use now? Or
Digital
what were
art,
you
I
using?
think, right?
It's all digital. It's all digital now.
Digital. Okay, so why the change? Like, what was talk to us a little bit about shifting from one, I guess it's a different medium, right? One medium to the next.
Yeah,
And yet still keeping your style. Like, what caused it? What was the shift? What were you trying to capture and versus what you do now? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so in 2020, we were looking forward to Remake coming out. So that was on my mind leading up
So
to the
you
hype
had
of
been a
that.
Final Fantasy VII fan before Remake. You had played Crisis
Yes.
Core. Did you ever go back to the original game? Like, I assume, like the FF7?
Yeah, so let me get the. I'll lead into that. I'll get
Okay.
into a quick FF7 overview.
No, we're gonna ask you 10 more questions before
it's
you
a-
can answer
just
one. and
rapid
there's
fire.
nothing you can do to
Okay,
stop
okay.
us.
Yeah, so hold the thought of the transition. I'll get into the FF7 really quick. I didn't play the
Yeah.
OG. I was really young. I was only 3 when FF7 came out.
Okay.
And my
Wade's
So-
trying not to age in front of you.
Stop. Like I'm.
He's Benjamin buttoning in front of our eyes.
Just had a big milestone birthday. It's like okay,
You're doing
whatever.
great.
You
You're
know?
doing great. You're doing great. Okay, so you didn't play the original FF7, but
no.
yeah, talk to us about video games, how you got here, what your history is with them.
Yeah, so my source was my parents. They would bring home games they wanted to play, and I
Oh.
would watch them play. So my mom, I'm going down game history. I'll get to the transition, but
This is good.
so my mom played. My very fondest, earliest memory was watching my mom play Ocarina of Time. So Zelda is near and dear to my heart. So me and my sister would sit either side of my mom playing, and my dad would be at work, and he'd come play when he gets home. But we kind of learned to read through my mom playing it. She'd tell us to read the text, and so
Way to go, Mom.
I love that experience. So that carried on years and years. I'd watch my parents play. They were my Let's Play YouTubers. I mean, I was obsessed with
love that.
watching them play.
Right?
And then they played Final Fantasy X. That was my first Final Fantasy experience. Was Final Fantasy X, and that aesthetic forever stuck with me. That, and I know I never played Chrono Trigger. Chrono Cross is one of my favorite games of all time. For art wise, for the art aesthetic of that influenced everything I do. My color choices, the way I appreciate art in general. Chrono Cross is huge, and another
Chrono
world.
Cross's art is out of this world. It is so good.
Yes, the Another World music is like my life song. It's the number one song of like life. And anyways, getting into that, but Chrono Cross and FF10 kind of melded together with this Islander aesthetic that I'm really attached to. I really love it. So anyways,
The color
was
palette
my
is
first
making a
Final
lot
Fantasy.
of sense looking at
It
these.
does. Like I'm learning so much about what I'm viewing when I'm admiring your work. Oh, this
Yeah.
is great.
Unfortunately, Wade, we're having some connection issues on your end.
Oh no.
So we can handle the blurriness, but you went robot voice for a second there. So
Okay, is it bad now?
it's bad for me. I don't know, Tyler, if you're getting some hiccups.
He was a little robot-y.
Yeah. Okay. No
Oh
worries. It's
man.
fine.
Let me see what I.
Just make sure that you're not downloading any updates on your computer or any games or
think I
updating or
am.
anything like that. It's everybody's off work in Tuscaloosa right now, so everybody's getting
Yeah.
online, and it's probably clogging up your interwebs.
I don't know, man.
It's
Let me-
fixing
Sound good
itself.
now.
You're good. I think we can.
Is it?
Yeah, I think we can pick back up. You'll be
You
fine.
sound good now.
My apologies. I don't know.
Now you're good.
Yeah, we don't make the rules.
I don't make the internet. I am not Al Gore. So
Yeah. Let me just. Yeah, you're snapping back in. You're not quite in.
Okay.
All right, you're coming back. Okay, so we were discussing Chrono Cross color palette. So why don't
Yes.
let me just toss it back in, that way I know
Okay.
where I'm gonna slice it back in. And I'll start with my Chrono Cross color palette comment. Yeah, I could really see where the color palette here for this Chrono Cross is evident all over everything that you do. That's really neat. And that was something that really stuck with you, was these art styles, the Zelda, Ocarina of Time art style, Chrono Cross, Final Fantasy X. Tell us a little bit about when you started playing them yourself. What did you start to enjoy in games? What console did you play them on? What were some of your favorite games?
Yeah, so it was always watching my parents play, and I enjoyed that. And then we started getting more consoles, more consoles coming out. The main console living room, the main console became the 360. And so it wasn't the PS2 anymore, and it could come in my room. Best day ever. Because I get to go through these myself.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time, it was in 5th grade, is when I officially like played through these games myself and experienced them and truly fell in love with them. I finally played through Chrono Cross and FF10 and Kingdom Hearts. Those were big three. I remember doing all those in my room, and it was changed everything. The art blew me away. It made me who I am now. And then I'm forever a gamer. But yeah, that fifth grade was the year I officially just like played them all.
So did you play Final Fantasy VII in that, like the original?
So the original was not in my view at all.
Okay.
Like we don't have perspective of like I don't have I'm all into gaming culture now, like reviews and critics and what people think. I mean, when you're little, you have no concept of what's around you, who likes what, why they like it.
Right.
So I had no idea of the culture like I would now if I was my age then,
Sure.
So everything was from my dad bringing home movies and games every week. So officially, he brought home Advent Children, and we watched Advent Children. Had no context of FF7. So
well, most
I had
people
no idea.
Viewing of Advent Children have no context for what's happening.
So it was, but it was so I'm artist, so it impacted me greatly. Like I'd watched it over and over and over again, study the choreography. I think it's best in industry, animation wise, choreography wise. Still, I had no idea what the story was though. But I got attached to Cloud.
Yeah.
And Sephiroth
As we do.
As characters, as swordsmen, aesthetically, everything about them. So I got attached to them and gravitated to them and everything they were. And then they were in Kingdom Hearts. That's cool. And Dissidia was a big PSP when we started getting a PSP game. That was my connection to them. Other sources outside of FF7, and then Crisis Core was my official. Like I'm playing a game with FF7.
You just made some marketing executive really, really happy at Square Enix because they're like, okay, he watched Advent Children and then he saw them in Kingdom Hearts, and that's what we were going for. Like, we got him. Like, we did it. Somebody their dream was realized.
Perfect timing for me and that kind of stuff.
Did you ever play Final Fantasy Original?
Okay, so I'll get to that.
I'm like, so you took the longest way possible to get to Final Fantasy VII. It sounds like every other game imaginable.
Yeah. Final Fantasy has been my everything, but I'm also like a Halo fan. I'm a Fable fan. I'm throughout my life, I've gone through all these other periods of gaming. So that took my interest. I was absorbed by Halo. I was absorbed by Destiny. There's an Overwatch period.
Everybody had an Overwatch period.
So around the time of FF15 hype, I was in college and getting into gaming news, which I'm super into now. It's like everything. It's my hobby. I just take part in. I love taking in what the world is saying about games. I like being in the culture of it. I was starting to do that around 2014. Following everything. I had an Arkham. I'm obsessed with the Arkham series, by the way, too. So I was really into that at the time. But I was really looking forward to Final Fantasy 15, and then E3 2015 happens, and I'm blown away by the remake reveal trailer, and everyone's hype around it. And I'm hyped for different reasons, but I decided to fully commit and understand exactly everything about FF7 because I had no idea I did not know the story. I just knew I liked the characters and I knew Crisis Core and Advent Children. There was no glue of connection of the story for me. So I'm busy with college, so I don't have time to sit and play games much. So as I'm drawing, I have Let's Plays playing all the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
I watch my parents play, so I'm fine with watching others play it. So my first playthrough of FF7 was through now my good friend Dan's Go 8 on YouTube. I watched his playthrough, and then he explained the whole story, and because of him, I understand everything. And then I got in the rabbit hole. I wanted to know the iceberg and Final Fantasy Union, and through YouTube, I I got very well acquainted with it, and then so it's been secondhand the OG, but
Mm.
everything else I play. But that's that was my connection to FF7. But I know it's my number one now. I mean, I'm obsessed with it, as you can tell by when I draw now. But
It's so interesting because I think that your experience is not a singular experience. I
Mm-mm.
have
yeah,
students in my classes that have played Crisis Core, like the Crisis Core Reunion,
okay,
the remaster, remake, or whatever.
yeah,
They've played Remake, they've played Rebirth, and they've watched Advent Children, but they never have played the original game. And so I
mhm,
think that that's one of the things that Square Enix has been taking into account.
Mm-hmm.
It's
yeah,
like, okay, like we really need to do
These
something
entry
to
hmm
points.
to loop
Yeah.
people in as an entry point. And
hmm
um and again, that even though you've experienced the story kind of secondhand through YouTubers and others, that does inevitably change the way that you interact with the story. But it also lets me imagine that your anticipation for remake was very different from lifelong fans, right?
hmm
Who played it like me, 13 years old,
yep,
playing it in 1997.
hmm
So, well, how would you say that um, your hype levels going into remake and then into rebirth, even though you knew the story and knew everything about it and stuff, what was it like for you in the build up for that, anticipating to get to play as these characters in a way that was more amenable to the times, I guess,
hmm
Yeah, more modern.
So
and more
thinking,
modern? Yeah.
yeah, so being with perspective of now, ideally I would have loved to have grown up with FF7.
Mm.
That would have been ideal for the ultimate ultimate hype level. You know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
get the full experience of like just like we're experiencing the digital era change from VCR to CD to DVD.
Yeah.
We get to experience this. We're the unique generation that gets to experience technology grow in the way that it has, and there's a value to that.
Mm.
Um, and I understand that value. That I wish I could have seen it when I was young and had that.
Yeah.
But I also I got extremely invested. I mean, I was already a Final Fantasy fan.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I knew of Cloud for since um, Advent Children and Crisis Core. Crisis Core is very dear to me. I was very aware of it. Um, and then getting acquainted with it from 2015 to 2020, it became my favorite thing ever. And I've never been more excited for anything. I don't think I've
Mm.
ever been more excited, even as someone who didn't grow up with it. I
Yeah.
still felt the same. I think I felt the same as if I can't account for the feelings of people who waited for it, but
So
I'd say my hype was the same. It was
you
the same.
watch Advent Children and then go to play Crisis Core. Is that the right timeline?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So when you pick up Crisis Core, Cloud doesn't show up for like hours in that game. What
Yeah.
was your impression of being like, who is this guy? Zach, he's in a few scenes in Advent Children, but like, what was that like?
So baby brain playing a game.
Yeah.
It's just playing a game.
Right.
I did not associate. I just saw. I knew Sephiroth
Hmm.
was my glue. Sephiroth's like my favorite character. He's the
Okay.
glue that helped me connect. Oh, I love this. I love this Sephiroth. Um, I didn't register. I didn't pay attention to the story much.
Hmm.
I didn't pay attention. It was like it's very casual,
Yeah.
and that's weird for me to say because I'm not a casual anymore. I mean, I'm super invested, and I have to play
Well,
everything
you
now.
were a
And
kid, and
yeah,
one of
so
the
being a
things
kid,
that all of us, I mean, when we play games as kids, we're not like thinking these deep dives,
no,
philosophical, sort of like, why? What's their motivation here? We're just playing a game for
Mm-hmm.
fun.
yeah,
But the stark contrast from Advent Children, where you're following Cloud and Tifa,
yes,
to Crisis Core, where it's like you've got Zack and you've got Angeal and Genesis and it's Sephiroth. At least we've
mm-hmm,
got some glue there.
mm-hmm,
But yeah, it's interesting because people contact me all the time because I say that you can play remake without playing the original game. Like that
Mhm.
that is my like thesis all the time, and people
Mhm.
want to fight me and like go to the mat all the time on that one. And I'm digging in on this because I'm like, you kind of have a proof of concept here. Even though you knew about the
Mhm.
original game, like
Mhm.
what drew
Yeah.
you in was not the original game. And I think that
Yes.
that is really
Mhm.
important
Mhm.
to note.
It makes me
Yeah.
curious. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Oh, I thought I interrupted you. Sorry. It makes me curious. You talk about value, right? And the value that different things bring to the experience, value of
Mhm.
being able to experience the original, the value that you see in being able to grow up in a digital age and kind of get to come of age as technology improves. So you're kind of always understanding that next wave. I wonder, as an avenue of your life that isn't necessarily professional but informs your kind of professional
Mhm.
work, what value have video games had for you over the years, growing up as a child and then as you've gotten into high school and college? What does it mean to you to get to experience a video game? And what is that like? And what value does it provide? And has it provided in your story?
Um, it is a source of connection to my family. Um, that's my fondest. It's, even now, we play games together still.
That's so
Mm,
cool.
So doing that, also as an artist, I appreciate the art creating something. Some of the It's more than a movie, and it's more than a play. It's more than a book. It's all together,
mm,
and I'm just appreciating the art my whole life through it. It's moving art, and there's something I appreciate about the beauty of it. Um, it inspires my creativity, and I absorb it as a source so I can help produce.
Yeah.
And it gives me a source of uh, have true. It's hard to explain as an artist being inspired by something.
Let's try. Let's try. So what? So when you, so there's a spark of something that happens for inspiration, right? Like
Mhm.
is that what it's like for you? You're just going through your
Mhm.
day, and then there's a
Mhm.
moment, and you say, "Oh my gosh, I feel this way, and now I feel
Mhm.
inspired."
Yeah.
Describe. Is that how it is for you? You just like you see something or something moves you one way, and then now you're
Mhm.
inspired. Can you capture
Mhm.
that feeling? Is it excitement? Does your heart rate get going? Do you start thinking about all these ideas? Do you immediately want to go grab something to draw? Do you need to write it down? Like when you capture that
mm.
moment of
Mhm.
inspiration, talk us through that like split second. What goes on in Tyler's brain?
I want to show what people. I want to. I get extremely excited.
Okay.
I have a really. I'm a very emotional person.
Okay.
I cry. I happy cry all the time.
I love happy crying.
Nostalgia cry. Music makes me cry.
Mm.
Um, I was in tears most of Rebirth, authentically, and I tried to see why do I cry all the time? I mean, in a genuine way. Um, and I think beauty makes me beauty moves me, and it makes me cry. Games are beautiful to me. The art that the passion that people put into it, I appreciate the hard work they put into it, and I appreciate as an artist how they go about it, and especially if I love it. Final Fantasy VII does really well with characters and something pure. There's something pure and good, and it captures good things. I don't know. There's a Philippians 4:8 is like a major verse for me. It's whatever is good, whatever is um, whatsoever things are true, honest, just, pure, whatsoever things are of good report. That verse, I really latch onto that, and when things present that to me, I get moved because it connects me with God as my home, as the source of beauty. Um, so that moves me to cry, and I want to share that with people. I want to share how I feel and express it. I want to
Oh,
reflect it back to
I want to
people.
share how I feel. Like that's so, because you talked about how the impact of your challenges that you dealt with in high school with your
hmm
skin,
hmm
with the way that you felt, with your emotional state, and with the
hmm
state of your spirit,
uh
was all connected. And
Yeah.
so to then have the moment of inspiration be something that is something that you see, something
hmm
physical that then
hmm
expresses something in your spirit and then
hmm
in your emotions, and then it moves you to action and gratitude
hmm
and appreciation. To have that same pathway that was that first time that you felt like you stopped kind of working in grayscale and started seeing light and color, be
hmm
the way that you describe what that inspiration is, and
hmm
moves you to action and sharing, is a
hmm
really cool dichotomy, because it's not a long process anymore, right? It
hmm
sounds like
hmm
you recognize what it is, you've learned about yourself, you've learned about who you
hmm
are, and you have like a journey that you have been through. So that thing that took 6 months to draw before now happens for you in these small moments as you've grown
hmm
professionally, as you've matured,
Yeah.
and as you've aged. So that healing process being able to be something that you can tap into instantly to recognize
hmm
that when something's moving you, that's inspiration. That's a
hmm
really neat journey that you've been on for the last 10, 15 years, to be able to
hmm
do that, and then to be able to have the output that you do professionally, because you put out a
hmm
high volume of work as well. I'd love to talk
hmm
about that at some point. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
how are you doing so much, Tylor?
Oh, well, I'll go into the transition. I didn't want to do pastels anymore. Um, I wanted to express differently. Photorealism, copying what I see, was becoming I trust the process. I'm getting really good at it. There's nothing more than to just draw what I see.
Mm-hmm.
It's going beyond that now. I want to be creating what I see. I want to create instead of copy. Um, I want to evolve. I want to evolve. I want to get to that next level.
Yeah.
I don't want to copy anymore.
I
I
want
want
to
to make
create instead of copy, is what you said.
yes,
Oh wow.
yes.
Okay.
I don't want to copy things. That's all I was doing was getting things just right. I'm looking at this. I'm going to make sure it matches it just like how I see it. Um, I think I want to create beautiful things and not just copy. So that was hard for me because being a photorealistic artist, you rely on a reference 100%. There's no, I was trying to enhance it with a lot of visual interest, which differentiated my portraits from others, which was strong highlights. White was a big part of it, which is strong light and a lot of detail and texture, but it still looks photoreal.
Hmm.
Um, I want to translate that. Somehow I make that. So I used Final Fantasy as the source of practice in my digital art,
Oh.
and so it's my first one was I drew Sephiroth, and I try to match the feeling of pastel and chalkiness in digital art, which is very hard to do. It requires a lot of texture work and noise, and
Hmm.
it was hard at first because I'm used to texture. I'm used to messy, and
Yeah.
pastel is the exact opposite of clean digital art. It's messy, and whatever happens, you're happy that it happens on accident, or happy accidents like Bob Ross. There's not many accidents in digital art. You make everything happen really intentionally. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
it was a very hard thing to do, which is why I wanted to do it,
Hmm.
and it's been very, very, very hard every single time, but now it's getting easier. Um, it still feels fresh to me, but I've been doing it since 2020 now. Um,
That is wild. Well, you talk
hmm
a lot about getting out of your comfort zone, and
hmm
it's important to you that once you gain a competency in something, you kind of are questing, it seems like, for that next
hmm
thing that's going to push you out of your comfort zone. And so
hmm
you decided that it was time to change lanes and go
hmm
into the digital art. Wade, you talk
hmm
with your students a lot about, listen, you know who you are, you'll start to figure it out, you'll figure out what you're comfortable with, but then you'll also see these opportunities to challenge yourself. And it's important to take advantage of those opportunities. I'm curious what your brain is processing right now. I don't know why I made this is like you screwing in like your Frankenstein thing,
It's
but it
me.
looks like I was saying your plot then thing. Where
There's so many things that you have said that deeply resonate with me. Thinking about the inspiration piece for a moment. I think it was a professor. I'm not entirely sure where I got this phrase, but I remember hearing someone one time saying, inspiration is kind of like light piercing the caverns of my once dark soul. And then that light begins to flood that entire
Yes.
cavern. And then, once full, it begins to overflow out of me. So it's this image that I was thinking about with you because you notice something and it's like, oh, that resonates deeply with me. And then you process it and then it just kind of bubbles up and then you have to
Hmm.
let it out. It
Hmm.
really does that resonate with you? Is that the
That
process?
is
And
amazing visual right there. I mean, I've never heard that before.
yeah, I
That
wish that I
that is
could attribute
perfect.
someone for because I
We're,
don't
we're
believe
just
that
gonna
I just made
we're
it
gonna
up.
steal it.
So
Wade made it up. It's
Yeah.
ours now.
I,
Copyright.
yeah.
Nobody else can have it. Nobody else is allowed to talk about light, caves, overflow.
But I can see how, as an artist, the pursuit of that inspiration um, is it gives you a way of seeing the world around you and engaging in a medium in a completely different way. And I think
Mhm.
that it also validates your desire
Mhm.
to create something, to receive new inspiration rather than to just copy former
Mhm.
inspiration.
Mhm.
And to our discussion today, I think you've given me new language and understanding for the developers of Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth,
Mhm.
where
Mhm.
they could have just copied what worked in
Mm.
1997, but they are
Yeah.
wanting to create something new based on fresh inspiration. And I
Mhm.
think that that really grounds the way that I can think about this new trilogy.
Mhm.
How does that pursuit of inspiration and creation versus copying, how does that frame the way that you approach Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?
Mm.
It correlates. It's perfect. It's exactly the same. Um, because I understand how creatively lost and stagnant and
Mm.
almost dead you'd feel doing exactly the same thing
Mm.
20
Mm.
years later, especially of artists of their caliber. They're like world-class artists
Yeah.
wanting to, and their messages are more impactful than any other story. They impact so many people.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like everyone you meet is impacted by a Final Fantasy story, and especially Final Fantasy VII. So
Mm.
those people, like, naturally just want to do that more, do it again, differently, but have that impact and more, and not just that impact before because they've already done it. They want to do it again, but fresh, and fresh is key for artists. I think being fresh, especially for those that have a message like Katase and the team. I know they really want to express something deeply and something that kind of has never been done before in the meta narrative of this new trilogy. I don't
Yeah.
think it's ever been done before.
Right.
I mean, I've heard Evangelion and all that kind of stuff, the way the story's been structured,
Mhm.
but even in the scale of it, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Lord of the Rings is my favorite movie, by the way.
Mhm.
Lord of the Rings, the way they filmed that, it was a huge commitment. They're putting that effort into this trilogy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't think another studio's ever going to do this ever again.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's viable to do it now. I don't even think any company's going to risk trying to do it. But they are the team to do it, and the artists. I think one of the few artists team in the world that could do what they're doing. So I accept. I'm here for the ride, and excited for what they do. So I'm not like a
Yeah.
purist in that way. I appreciate what they give as artists.
This trilogy, I've said a couple of times on stream and in other places, I'm not sure if this trilogy will be deemed a success financially, marketability, all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. But I do believe that this trilogy will be significant.
Mhm.
And I think that is, I think that they want it to be successful, and I think that eventually it will be, especially once part 3 comes out,
Yeah.
and you've got this whole package sort of deal. But what I can see now is that it is taking the form of a significant piece of art, of design, of storytelling that's really trying to push the medium forward. And I
Mhm.
really appreciate what they're doing with that.
Mhm.
Evan, any other questions about the art? Because it feels like we're right on the precipice
I
of
think I have a
going
good
over
transition
to
question.
Rebirth. Please go
Okay.
for it.
Okay, so from the perspective of a world class artist, which you are, and we haven't fawned over your work and effort enough. I think we missed that at the
Yeah.
beginning. I think we probably talked more about it pre-show than anything, because I think people, we just assume that people have context for who
Mhm.
you are and the work that you've put in. When you think about a remake, if you were to have drawn something 20 years ago
Mhm.
and somebody was to ask you to draw it again, and maybe you have some permission to reinterpret or something like that. From your perspective as an artist, can you help us get into the mindset that they might be approaching this re-trilogy with? What are they thinking about when they're thinking about certain ways that they've maybe done something? And what would that look like for you if you were revisiting a piece of art that you did 20 years ago and they were asking you to do it again? Yeah, I think you have a unique perspective to talk
Mhm.
about that from an artist. Now, I know that you can't speak for them and the team
Mhm.
specifically, but from your
Mhm.
perspective as an artist, when you revisit work, what does that process
Mhm.
look like, and what insights do you think it might provide us into some of the mindset of the team as they approach this project?
Yeah. Um, it's almost it's scary. It's scary for me to go back to an art piece and try to replicate it again and be better. It's to to do it correctly or fulfillingly for me. It needs to be better, but and also enhanced in some way, which is very challenging if it's your best work. I have a drawing I did in 5 days. I did a Robert Downey Jr. Um, at his coffee table in the Iron Man suit.
Hmm.
Um,
I've seen that one.
that's
The
probably
line
my
work is
best.
ridiculous.
I think that's my best pastel drawing, and it took me 5 days. Um, I listened to all of Matthew while I was drawing it, so I put a lot of Matthew into that drawing. But
That's really cool.
if I was to redo that again, I, there's a feeling of dread, but and the person that wants to overcome being uncomfortable wants to do better. Then I don't
Mm.
want it to be less than, but so it can't be the
Yeah.
same. It can't be the same because I can't do it again exactly the same because I am also a different person. I'm a completely different person. So even me applying my art to create it is not the same as it used to be. And what I've learned since then, I think I might want to give a new message now. I want to portray it in a different light to represent how I am now. And I think these artists especially go with the flow of how they are in the present and look for the
Mm.
future. Um, so I think they're doing something very difficult in doing this, but they're doing it smart. I think it's the smartest way they could have done it
Hmm.
in being fresh in this new take. I think for me, it's genius. It's the most genius concept. The whole concept of the remake being where your brain goes as you discuss and we talk about this for in between the games,
Yeah.
and I've never experienced this before. It's awesome. I think it's the best thing ever, and I want to do it forever, you know.
Well, it
But
is
they've
created.
done it.
It's created opportunities like this, right?
Right.
Where we
Yes.
can guess and conjecture and theorize and appreciate even
Yeah.
in the moment. I think that what you've just said, anyone who has created anything, whether it's
Mhm.
YouTube content, gaming content, music, art,
Mhm.
all of those kind of things, I think they resonate with what you're saying, and they can bring in that same sensibility to this remake trilogy.
Mhm.
Because those who create when we think back to the early things that we created, we might look at that and be like, oh, there's a million things I'd do differently
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But you had no context, you had no concept of what you currently know back then.
Mhm.
There was a there was an author, oh my goodness, I wish that I was better at citations. My dissertation committee would fail me today. But I remember there was a speaker, a woman, an author, who said one time, um, when asked about some of her earliest works that she had published and currently disagreed with, she was asked, "Do you regret it?" And she said, I don't regret it, no, but instead I think of it like the innermost circles within a tree. Those circles within that tree were necessary for my growth to become who I am today. I would not be able to create what I do today without those innermost circles. And so
Mhm.
I wouldn't change a thing of that because I am who I am
Mhm.
because I was then. And
Mhm.
that is so much the process of art for me.
Mm.
We would not have Remake Trilogy or Rebirth or any of that without the artists creating that original piece. And then
Mhm.
for them to revisit it today in this
Mhm.
time, in this context, because all art, all creation happens within the time and the identity of those in the present moment.
Mhm.
We can't take away that at all. So of course it's going to be
Mhm.
different. And that is not going to sit well with people that don't understand the timeliness of creation and art.
Yes.
And we certainly see that on Twitter and social media and
Yep.
all the other things. It's
Yeah.
like, it's not the same.
Mhm.
Grab your
Mm-mm.
pitchforks.
Well,
So,
you said it was like you first described it as scary. Like
Yeah.
revisiting a piece would be scary. Then you
Yeah.
said that it would fill you with dread. Then you said that it would be
Yeah.
difficult, and you said it would be intimidating. Those are all
Yeah.
so honest
yeah.
and so indicative of the respect that you would have for the process that I just did not expect for that to be your answer. It's so authentic to someone who like had to experience it. I could tell you were thinking, my gosh, if I had to
Mhm.
revisit Tony Stark at the coffee
That,
table, I would feel so intimidated by this
Mhm.
task. How do you think that reverence for the task impacts your appreciation of it as you've played the game now?
Mm.
The fact that they've succeeded in what they've succeeded in my eyes and gone beyond what I could even hope for because we imagine it before it comes out. It's exceeded all my expectations because they're doing it faithfully, still being fresh with it.
Mm.
I'm kind of speechless over how well they do. Because when you first hear them talk and remake, you didn't even I could not even imagine the conversations they would have
Right?
and how they would elaborate on the text
Yeah.
on what they would say to each other. You'd think it would just be a couple lines. You might be anime robots because they haven't had good voice direction. No, but their voice direction is like world class now.
Class, yeah.
That kind of stuff blows me away, and the art kind of just—it's almost like the art is almost the easy part. This is gonna be hard to explain. The art that they're doing is like the grind, the hard work. We can create cloud and the models and the world and the landscapes. The art is portraying their message as impactfully as the original was, but new, with this with the template of FF7 and the legacy that because before there's no legacy. When something's brand new, it's just brand new, and here it is. This has legacy to back it up, expectations, which expectation makes it even harder, especially if it's one of the most beloved things of all time. If it was my most beloved artwork that impacted millions, I'd feel even worse.
Do you think about the
So
expectations when you're making something as an artist? Like when you've been commissioned to do something or you're making a very famous character, like does the weight of those expectations create some pressure? And what is that experience like as you're creating it?
oh man, every artwork I want it to be my best. So I have very high expectations of myself. Anyways, I want it to be my best every time. That's me just pushing myself. Um, but the lost my train of thought.
Are you good? What are the expectations, right? You said each time you want it to be your best, but what does the weight of expectation
I
have
remember.
on art?
I
Yeah.
remember. I remember. Okay. It's a bigger responsibility when you're commissioned something, and I've been being commissioned by voice actors all year. There's that responsibility is very heavy.
Mm.
It's much heavier than if me deciding to draw something to share with everybody.
Yeah.
And I have my own plans. But someone who is the voice actor of the character itself,
Wow.
like Ben Starr asked me to draw Clive. He asked me to draw 2 Clives, and he had very specific things he wanted me to portray. And he like has ownership of this character. Very high expectations from him, and from everyone that sees Clive has expectations of how he's represented. So I felt very heavy trying. It was very hard for me to push through that because I wanted it to be amazing for him. And it's a new experience because I'm not commissioned by these high profile people lately. This is a new thing for me. So yeah, that was a new experience. That was I was surprised by how
Well, I want
hard
to
it
say
was.
you absolutely nailed
Oh yeah.
the aesthetic for Clive and Torgal when they're
Oh,
like
thank you.
sitting beside that thing. In fact, just to prove it to you, my home screen is that image.
What?
Oh.
No way.
Like, I absolutely love it. You posted it on Twitter. I was like, well, that's my new home image.
Wait till I feel that. Yoink.
Thank you.
I'm
honored,
it.
man.
Like, it really,
Yeah.
really moves me. And so I look at that and I go to teach my Final Fantasy 16 class. And I'm like, oh, that's the vibe of good and light and all that stuff that I want to bring to this
Yes.
classroom today. So
Yes.
thank you for that.
Hey everybody, welcome to that time in the episode where we get to know each other a little bit better. That's our mini game stretch break. And before we hit our theme music with Tylor Hepner here, let's get some stretching in. So everybody, let's get some stretches. Maybe do a little arm circle here. You could even do some hand stretches, right? Here we go. So listener, wherever you find yourself today, just take a little moment and take a break. Cracking our knuckles. Just be present. Just release some of the stress. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out
You're
your
like
mouth.
a yoga instructor, and I appreciate that about you, Evan. Sometimes it feels less like a stretch and more like a flex.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
where
there
it
we
kinda
go.
feels like.
Maybe that's it. And for those of us in the tiny little boxes, let's hit that theme music. 3, 2, 1. Bum, bum, bum,
Bum, bum, bum, bum,
Oh,
Beautiful.
way to go. Way to go. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the bingo wheel of vulnerability, numbers 1 through 50 inside of it. And we have Tylor Hepner here with us. So, Tylor, as our guest, which number would you like to pick?
40 years in the desert. 40.
40.
Ooh,
Wade?
18 for the number of national championships that my team has.
I'll take 14 for the actual number of national championships that you have. All right, here we go. So 14, 18, and 40. Tylor, tell me when.
Okay. Now.
All right, here it is. Oh, it fell. Oh, it's in my sleeve. Oh, it's in.
Oh, no.
All right, here we go.
We really need a safety net.
Oh
Man,
my
every
gosh,
time.
Tylor, you were so close. The number is 50. We've never gotten 50 before. You were so close. Better luck
Never
next
got
time.
50.
Oh, he has to come back. All right, so give us the 50th question there from our Geek Therapy cards, Wade.
Okay, here it is from our Geek Therapy card deck for clients and therapists. 87 practices to improve thoughts, build insight, and take action in your life and de-stress. This comes from Pop Culture.
I love that
First
you
now-
read the entire.
I did.
Yeah.
If Geek Therapy and the Heroes Quest Journal don't know what you're doing for them,
Here's the thing.
you need to be on a list.
Here's the thing. I always consider this like a test run for one day when we may have ads, which I just feel like we're
There you go.
prepping
There
for.
you
You
go.
know, we're
Yeah,
preparing
that's
for
it.
it. So
That's it.
anyway, here it is. It's about pop culture today. Personality characteristics have been known to influence our choices in popular culture, such as what color lightsaber we would wield or what house we might be sorted into in something like Harry Potter. What characteristics of yourself do you think influence your interest in geek culture? Oh. What characteristics of yourself do you think influence
Hmm.
your interest in what they might call geek culture? And we say that very, very lovingly.
Well, I can go first
Go,
to
Evan.
open us up. But Tyler, if you have your answer, I will offer the floor to you.
No, go ahead. I'm thinking.
Great. I think for me, it is, especially when it comes to geek culture and my personality, I love the level of detail that fans of something will
Mm,
go into detail exploring the why and the how. So even
Mm,
back to like my Star Wars days, when I was a kid, I'd pop the VHS in to the VCR, the tape player, the VCR, and I would play Star Wars. And there were these little droids and little people and all these little
yeah.
side characters. And then I could go to the library and I could check out a book that would tell me a little bit about all these little droids and all the side characters and where they were from.
mm,
And I just love the infinite
Mm,
well of knowledge that a lot of these kind of more geeky hobbies are. I think it's just you get curious and you can just chase that rabbit trail about as deep as you want to go. And there's a lot of
mhm,
people who are also like that. So it's a cool coming together moment, I think,
mhm,
for people who are fans of things, and that's what I appreciate. Wait,
mm,
Tyler, what about you
yeah.
guys?
I'll go next. So, when I was first introduced to this culture, I guess, I was not necessarily in a space where, or in a level of self-esteem where I felt like I could really go on big adventures and stuff. And one thing that drew me to this was that sense of adventure, these stories that were larger than life. And whether it was through video games or books or movies that I liked, I felt like I was a part of something big.
Hmm.
And it really inspired me to have that kind of adventurous spirit. I really think in college I was able to travel a good deal, do some study abroad, and I didn't know anybody on those trips.
Mhm.
And I remember my family saying to me, "Don't you want to go with like friends and stuff?" And I remember saying, "No, it's okay. I got this." And it really kind of bolstered. That was bolstered by some of these adventures that I'd taken as a middle schooler and high schooler through video games and some of the media that I liked. But that desire for adventure and something that was a little bit larger than life is what drew me in originally.
Very
Tyler, what
cool.
about you?
There's a strong desire in me to uphold and share goodness and beauty,
Mm.
um, and fight evil.
Mm.
That's very, very basic, but I extreme distaste for evil, and I share Zach's positivity and being a hero,
Mm.
upholding morals and having a strong conviction. I
Mm.
have a very strong conviction to uphold high morals. So, um, especially Zach's character and a lot of Lord of the Rings has inspired a sense of conviction to fight and uphold goodness and
Mm.
spread it and reflect um, every ounce of light that I can, um, and overcome the fiery darts that come our way. You know, like with the ring
Yeah.
and Sephiroth and the Whispers, and I like to combat that with strong armor. I like to keep that armor on, and
There you go.
so yeah,
Yeah, that
conviction.
makes sense. That's great.
That's awesome. Well, whether it's your curiosity, whether it's your confidence in a new journey, or whether it's the strength of your conviction and making it stronger, listener, we hope that you are inspired and able to reflect on some of the things from these cultures that you've enjoyed that really have been a positive for you, things that you appreciate. So let's just practice a little gratitude this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you find yourself. And we're going to get back to that episode. Bye bye.
All right, so it's time to go into some of the specifics of Rebirth. We've already kind of talked a little bit about kind of the artistry and some of the idea of creation. But you mentioned that Rebirth really resonated with you in a lot of ways. In fact, you said that you had felt it so deeply that you cried multiple times, maybe even throughout the entire game. I wonder if you could share with us, hey, I was there too. I mean, just like a lump
Hmm.
in my throat the entire time. Um, what was it about some of these scenes in particular, and were there any scenes that you especially recall saying, that just moved me. Like I felt that sense of inspiration and heartache and
Yeah,
levity. What was it
yeah.
about Rebirth that you remember?
Well, I want to say the whole experience moved me
Hmm.
from minute one. Um, I'm surprised by how much I'm moved by it. I'm
Hmm.
moved by, let's say, like Lord of the Rings. I'm always moved by from nostalgia now, but all the epic moments really move you, and
Hmm.
I get moved by nostalgia now. But with Rebirth, it was new. I had high expectations, but because we've grown to love these characters so much, and how they're portrayed, and there's a beautiful way they portray them, and the characters and how they interact, how they talk to each other, um, how the music melds all that together.
Mm.
I don't know. It's something truly peaceful, beautiful. It really moves me to tears. It moves me to tears. A lot of it does. The comfort of it. There's a comfort level, even just walking around Cosmo Canyon at night.
Mm.
Hmm.
Um, little things like that. Seeing the sunset, seeing the grasslands and sunset, being blown away by that, and the every little moment of just walking around. I mean, I can't believe I'm walking around, and I try to explore why I am moved so much.
Mm.
Um, because I really am moved quite a lot, especially in the live stream sequence, especially
Hmm.
musical moments. Um, but I think
The
when we
music
see
moves you
beauty,
in the game a lot.
the live stream sequence, chapter 9, when
Tifa falls in. Yeah.
Cloud
Yeah.
pushes Tifa into the Mako, and
Do you listen to music when you do your art?
oh yeah,
Okay, so music and like the visual connection is a big thing for you.
oh yeah. So like I listen to a lot of soundtracks
Oh,
while I
cool.
do. I like soundtracks. I like movie soundtracks. Um, uh, it was constant for my pastel era. It was constantly praise and worship music.
Hmm.
But so like, but a lot of ambient and let's plays. I have let's plays. I just like background, and
I
that's music in itself. So
I love that
part
there's
of that.
people who have made Let's Plays that have
Yeah.
no idea that they have been inspiring your artwork. Like
Yes,
that is
100%.
so
Cool.
cool that somebody
Yeah.
somebody made a Let's Play for some random game like Sonic the
Hmm.
Hedgehog, and you're just sitting
Hmm.
here drawing, watching a Sonic
Yeah.
Let's Play.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, that is great. Sorry to derail us. So you're talking about the things that were meaningful to you about the live stream sequence.
Yeah. So there's
Tell us
something
about the
really
live stream sequence specifically from kind of that artistic standpoint, and what was it that made that work so well for you?
um the entire direction of the scene, the music choice, and even the pacing.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's the it really touches on your soul, um,
Hmm.
especially that moment because she might be dying,
Hmm.
um, and she realizes it, and she's coming to a realization of Cloud and his childhood, and she's also seeing Cloud's perspective,
Yeah.
which is very interesting to me. She's not seeing directly hers; she's seeing she's being revealed Cloud's what Cloud went through. Um, that's very interesting to me. I don't I that might mean something because it was related to her,
Yeah.
but specifically in Cloud. So Cloud, her connection to Cloud, her softness, she has a lot of burden to
Mm.
carry, upholding his. She's upholding him. She's like keeping him together.
Yeah.
She knows that she's the reason he even is portraying himself this way. Like he became Cloud from Nibelheim when he saw her. She made that connection with that flash, and he's like, "Who?" And then when she found him on
Yeah.
the sidewalk, it connected, and he became Cloud from Nibelheim. So she's the connection to his past, and so she has a extreme burden to carry to keep him at least stable. but now she's lost and doesn't want to lose him and doesn't know what to do, and it really pulls on you because how you care for someone and you want to help them, and sometimes you can't. You don't know what to do to help, and she's just doing her best. And there's a lot of sadness involved. Really moves you, you know. And then the music that they chose to use. I don't know.
It's the entire presentation, really.
Yeah.
It's you bring up something really interesting. When Tifa falls into the live stream in chapter 9, she does experience many of the memories that Cloud has, right?
Mhm.
And when people have near-death experiences, we always say, oh, their life flashed before their eyes. But
Mhm.
instead of Tifa's life flashing before her eyes, Cloud's does.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is really curious,
Mhm.
which, is the stuff for fodder for theorists and people like me
Mhm.
that, just yap about this all the time. Um, but it's the question of why. Why
Yeah.
would the live stream make Tifa aware of Cloud's tender memories, most formative memories,
Hmm.
instead of giving her a moment of reflection for her own life? What do
Mhm.
you make of that? Why would they do this?
It's either in context of the story,
Mm,
or it's part of the developers trying to tell us something about the overall context of like what Sephiroth. I mean, what the overall arching plot is relating to Tifa and how she's going to be a part of this in a bigger
mm,
way. Um, in context, it could be that she's so important to Cloud's development in this. They're like the most important people in the life for the live stream.
yeah,
Cloud's like it's like the planet knows
Hmm.
that they're important specifically, and
yeah.
Sephiroth's targeting Tifa specifically, maybe, or it's the
Mm.
developers choosing to do this, but it could be Sephiroth. I think is targeting Tifa way more than he did before because
Oh, absolutely.
I like the concept of a sequel, but
Okay.
not. I know it's not. It might not be, but I enjoy the concept of it of Sephiroth knowing it don't matter. Sephiroth knows more than he should.
Yeah.
That idea, he knows Tifa more than he used to. Maybe he tries something different.
Hmm.
Maybe the world knows that, and maybe she is understanding things better. I think the ultimate thing is to drive a wedge between Cloud and Tifa,
Mm.
which is why there's so much indifference in the end. Um, to make Cloud have this dark indifference to everybody
Hmm.
except Aerith, and that's a weird thing to me.
Mm.
At the end, it's very sinister in vibe for him to be so darkly indifferent to every single person that you think he cares about, and then um, a weird fascination with Aerith. And I know they have a connection, but there's a weird, odd fascination that's not Cloud Smiles at the end of Advent Children vibe.
Hmm.
It's a sinister, I want you to be fascinated with me vibe
What
for
do
not
you
the good reason.
talk a little bit more about that? What do you think is going on there? Because there is a um sinister, kind of dark sort of vibe there. I think you're right. And in fact, I've heard some people that are much more adept at music than I am
Hmm.
do like an analysis saying that when Aerith shows up in those ending sequences,
Hmm.
it's a riff or a subversion of the Genova theme in
Hmm.
some ways. What do
Hmm.
you make of some
Hmm.
of this kind of dark tone? Something's off here
Yeah.
with Aerith and Cloud.
Yeah, so I'm all about how I feel. Um,
Hmm.
and things really move me, and I have been very much paying attention to how things make me feel. So seeing, because it is the middle part,
Mm,
I think Cloud's at his worst. He's not at his best. It's
yeah.
not good. Overall, it's not good. It's not Advent Children, him in the pool, smiling at Cloud and Zack at the doorway,
Hmm.
accepting, um,
Right.
feeling relief, and he releases the shame and grief. He's not having that smile. He's having a almost like Sephiroth mother fascination to Aerith. Um,
Hmm.
that's the vibe it gives me. And I know a lot of people relate to that, especially that one scene. But also just in the way Cloud's acting towards her, and disregarding everybody else. It's like a wedge is being
Interesting.
There's like a
Do
wedge being brought there.
do you think that Aerith is a manifestation of Genova in the ending then?
Uh, so I think yes, I like the idea. Okay, I know there's three possible possibilities that the devs have confirmed that you can think about. She's dead. She's in the live stream. She's or Genova, or it's a Cloud schizophrenic type of concept,
Sure.
or it's a Genova inducement type of thing, a hallucination or something like that. I
Mm-hmm.
think all three are in play because every potential option has just enough evidence to discredit or prove all of it.
Hmm.
So I think it's because of that, it's very intentional that um, that they did this so that we feel this way. It's supposed to be confusing. So I'm going to enlighten the impossibility of Genova because I
Okay.
enjoy that concept because I enjoy this special connection between Cloud and Aerith.
Okay.
I think that's sacred and beautiful, and I am emotional every time I see them two on screen.
Yeah.
And people, when you talk about Genova as Aerith, it's like you're taking that away from them. You're
Yeah.
taking that special connection between them, but that has nothing to do with it because it's going to enhance their connection in part 3 for me,
Mm.
going through this at their darkest point. So if they do this, I mean, it's putting people in a scared situation. They are afraid and they don't like Aerith being portrayed in a dark way.
Ooh.
But I think it's for a bigger reason. And I know a lot of people have elaborated that how he's going to be revealed the truth in the end
Sure.
in a more impactful way with Aerith's death and him being shown what actually happened. But I think he's rejecting and actively repressing everything.
Yeah.
Actually, my first reaction to Tifa seeing Cloud, I was surprised by my reaction. Was does she think Cloud killed her?
Killed her. Yeah.
That was my first reaction. I'm surprised at my reaction because I'm so involved in this and the what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, why would I think that? No, I can't be that. But that was Tifa is like almost scared of Cloud in a way and believes that
Yeah.
he would do that. And that was my frame of thought. Like, she would believe he would do that maybe, but I think she's seeing what he's not seeing. But I think he's coping with the loss in a way that he did with Zack,
Yeah.
and he's continuing that process with Aerith. And I think it's an ongoing thing where he's imprinting. And Genova's imprinting through him and continuously messing him up. And I think that's part of it. But I also think Aerith is there. She is there, but he's like intuiting her presence and projecting a feeling of Aerith, animating, and it's being animated with Genova cells in his mind.
Okay.
But so I think there's something. It's very weird. It's very hard to explain. This
No,
is how
it's
I'm explaining.
incredibly difficult to explain.
All three are happening at once. I think.
Yeah.
I think like Carl Jung and psychosis was a big part of it. I think
Okay.
psychosis is a big part of what what they want to portray with Cloud's demeanor and all that kind of stuff. I think the dark indifference is a big clue to that.
Yeah.
And it's very making Cloud unlikable for a purpose. And he's rejecting anything that says otherwise to the scenario, like someone with psychosis or schizophrenia would. They reject anything that rejects that goes against their delusion.
Yeah.
So that keeps happening, and I really feel for Tifa because she has a learned pattern that the more she tries to help Cloud see the truth, the worse things get.
Yeah.
Every time she tries, and the more the relationships like turn sour, no matter what they do. Every time she tries, it gets worse. So it's almost like I'm not going to try. I can't try. She'll get worse. I feel really bad for her, and I think she's the most important catalyst for him and Sephiroth knows that,
Yeah.
and he's trying to drive a wedge specifically between them. And if he can do that, he can force him into a new decision, to see death in a different light.
Yeah.
What is it like to think deeply about these stories and these characters and then spend time creating them in like your interpretation? Because you're away from the photorealism, right? That was a big shift. And sorry, I don't mean to take us away from like specifics on the story, but I'm hearing this really deep analysis of character motivations and why you think they're the way that they are, and how you think that plays out in the story. And then you take that and then you draw the character. And so your opinion of the character, does it impact like the way that you portray certain parts of them? Or do you draw certain characters thinking about certain moments, or do you draw them as a generality? Talk me through your process there.
Oh, I want to capture the spirit of the character as authentically as I can. And as I guess I'm explaining this dark portrayal of Cloud lately, I'm all about light, right? I'm all about good and purity and goodness. But something about getting into this darkness that enhances his comeuppance and when he becomes his true self, I'm really excited about. So I'm capturing the down of Cloud lately. So I drew, I'm drawing Puppet Cloud. I drew one of him. He's all bloody. I'm imagining him in part 3 at his absolute worst, fully taken over in the Northern Crater vibe. That was the goal for one of those, where I don't know if y'all have seen it, but I'm thinking about how they would portray him later. So it's almost like an intuition of how the devs will create them later on.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I really liked about that you're drawing, that you're talking about, is the way that you did the weight of where his weight sits, like the way his arms are, and like how he's, it's obviously still him and attached, but you do have almost that marionette vibe that you conveyed visually, which I think really I felt like connected to kind of his spirit and his psyche at the time.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about how posture communicated that kind of energy?
Oh yeah, definitely the puppet vibe, and his he's kind of contorted in a way. The sword is extremely heavy and way down. Kind of like the ring. Kind of like how the ring feels. It's like he has an extreme burden at that moment. His head's not up. Burden is pushing down on him. All that is going into that, and I'm imagining him at the Northern Crater. If he was fully robed, but not robed. All those moments where his visceral reactions of, when the gang is like side-eyeing Cloud and Rebirth, all of those moments really made an impact on me. It's really sad to see him go through that. So I did a part 3 version of that. What's cool about that one is Cody Christian commented on it. And
oh, really?
And yeah, so I'm really proud of that. He hasn't commented on a lot of things.
No, he hasn't. That's awesome.
So his reply is under my Puppet Cloud, and I'm really proud of that.
Oh, that's so cool. I think going back to your statement that draw what you see, not what you know, you taking the time to observe what you see in the characters and what their journey is, and not just your assumption of the character, really comes through to me. And I think that is not easy, I imagine, to do, that there's a lot of mental discipline that goes with both the physical discipline of the actual drawing. And I just want to say that I really appreciate it, that the thoughtfulness that you would take into these pictures, that especially when somebody's like purchasing like a print, and they buy it and maybe they give it to somebody, or they want to see it on the wall, that you can know that you're conveying the spirit of what something is and what you see, not just like what you know of, the apple. And, I'm sure the cloud, the puppet cloud is really upside down, and our minds are what's turning it around. I get that. Okay. But I think that's just really special. And I think that's something that people really appreciate about you and your work. And I just wanted to say, as a fan, thank you. Like that is really cool. It's been very neat to be able to have this discussion with you, to be able to ask follow-up questions about the when and the why and the how. And so I'm super appreciative of that. As we kind of wrap up, Wade, what else are we curious about, and how do you want to kind of finish this up?
Well, Tyler, one thing that I just want to say is like I'm looking at this Puppet Cloud picture right now, and um, before the show, you mentioned, you are pretty new at talking about your thoughts on the game and all of that kind of stuff. You let your work really speak
Mm.
for itself. And
Hmm.
here's what I'd like to say to you: as I look at this picture here, um, people like Night Sky and Blitz and Schrodinger, and I suppose as well. We theorize and we
Yeah.
hypothesize about what is the future.
Hmm.
But you are able to draw, and your theories show up on these pieces.
Mm.
Hmm.
And it's like you may not be detailing all of the things that have broken Cloud, but you have depicted Cloud in this brokenness where I'm able to see for myself, like, okay, here's what's going on in his psyche. But you have perfectly captured that. I don't know if you've ever thought about yourself as a theorist or a hypothesist
Uh-huh.
from your artwork, but that's
Uh-huh.
exactly what you're doing in a way that so vividly captures it in a way that my words can't even do.
Hmm.
And so I love that. I don't know if that was
Hmm.
your anticipation in that, but you are contributing to this theory crafting in a way that few can. It's amazing.
I appreciate that. That really means a lot because one of the things that I was shocked by, I want to point this out.
Hmm.
At the end of Rebirth, the CG scene starts playing and you see Cloud on the hill holding the materia.
Yeah.
My main artwork of Cloud that I always it's on my wall, on my banner.
Hmm.
Um, my favorite drawing of Cloud is him sitting on a hill holding the materia, and I drew that 2 years ago. And I was
Oh,
like, I was like, oh, I got the moment. I captured the moment because I imagined. I try to imagine future. I try not to draw what it's already been. I try to do new.
yeah.
I completely thought of that moment, and I saw it happen in Rebirth. Holding materia, I
Stop
was
it.
blown away.
Oh my gosh. I'm seeing the
Hmm.
timestamp on this.
Hmm.
Like I just pulled it up on Instagram. It was June 21st, 2022.
Yes.
And that I saw that recently and I
Hmm.
thought he drew the ending of Rebirth. I didn't
No.
look at the year.
Yeah.
Stop
That's
it.
incredible.
You're
Do you see
crazy.
what
You're a certified crazy person. You can.
that's wild.
That is amazing. Like that is.
That's incredible because
and,
it's perfect.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah. It's the same. It's the same layout. The hill is
Did
the
you
same.
freak out? Did
Dude,
you
I
get to the
freaked
ending
out.
and you're like, that's it.
Come on.
Yeah, I saw
Come
it.
on.
I saw it instant. It was crazy.
That is
I
super.
can't even-
What is that? Okay,
Oh
we're
my
running out of
gosh.
time. We have to
There's a
wrap
strong
up.
intuition for it.
Yeah, I know. We have barely scratched the surface. I mean, I truly think that we have barely scratched the surface on things that we should be and could be discussing. So you have to come back.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously.
You have to
Yeah.
come back, but we need
I
to
will.
know what is next for you. Like, are there things
Yes,
that you?
please.
How can people find you? What would you like
Mhm.
to
All of
share
those
about?
things, yeah.
What would you? If there are a few things that you wanted to highlight that are upcoming for Tylor, what are they?
Mhm.
Let us know.
Okay, so I have I've been working on this Rebirth series all year to celebrate Rebirth. I'm going to draw new things, but this year I want to fully celebrate and give honor to how much Rebirth has made an impact this year. So the rest of this year, I'm continuing with Rebirth. I have a few announcements soon with more voice actors. So look forward to that very soon. Still working on projects with people. And by the end of the year, I'm working on another giant um, re, a poster that fully captures Rebirth with everyone on it. It's going to be huge. I haven't started it yet, but I'm going to start it and finish it for to celebrate hopefully Game of the Year. Hopefully it gets Game of the Year, and it'll be ready for that. So I'll be continuing my art series for it, and just keep looking for more art every week as much as I can until that big one for Game of the Year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's on my it'll be on Instagram and Twitter. I have my Etsy, and they're all under my name, Tylor Hepner.
Tylor with an O, Tylor Hepner,
Yes,
right?
Tylor.
Yeah. Just making sure everybody, we will obviously tag it in the description and stuff.
Thank you,
Um,
thank you, thank you,
Tyler,
thank you.
this has been incredible. And,
Mhm.
you are the first artist that we've had on here. I mean, everybody's an artist, right?
Mm.
But you're the
Yeah.
first, like, traditional artist that
Mhm.
we've had on here. And,
Mhm.
it has been illuminating to
Mhm.
listen to your creative process and to really conjecture about the developers. That's something that I'm really
Mhm.
gonna be thinking about a
Oh,
lot.
good.
Can't thank you enough. Everybody go give
Yes.
Tylor a follow, and not only that, send him your money. Like,
Go
he
buy
makes
some prints. You
go
give
buy
him
some
money
prints.
and he gives you art.
It's amazing how the
Money can
market
be
works.
used for
This
Yeah.
goods and services.
they really can. So just go take advantage of that. Again, everybody, make sure that you are staying tuned to the channel so that you can stay up to date on all of our lecture plays, as well as video essays and all of the content creator interviews just like this. And so, again, Tylor, thank you. Stay
Mhm.
tuned, everybody. We have more to come in the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth lecture series. With that, walk tall, my friends, and we will see you in class.
Thanks to Tylor Hepner for the awesome interview. Thanks to Husky by the Geek for the use of our theme music. It's great. We love it. Thanks to Nick Smith for doing our graphics. Hey, take care of that Digital Sims family. They're not going to take care of themselves. And most of all, thanks to you. This show is brought to you by viewers like you. We really appreciate you. We hope everything's going great with you, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye-bye.